Okay, so we'll spend the next probably 75 minutes together. You'll want to have your journal with you. You want to have something to write with, pen and paper. You'll want to take notes, and there's an exercise we'll do together that we'll need a pen and paper for. This is going to be recorded, so if you're joining live, great. And if you have to hop off and maybe you're at work or you're driving or something, know that you can come back to this. And it's really important that you really get the full masterclass. At each kind of step that we'll be going through today builds on the next. So if you do have to leave, if you're live right now and you have to leave, make sure you come back to it. The recording is going to be right here. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for the comments. So good to have everyone. Yeah, so in this masterclass, I'm going to be walking you through the step-by-step process to overcome your patterns in dating and relationships and really start to feel super confident in yourself, and know exactly what it takes to be able to experience a healthy and a loving relationship. And the intention here, this is much more than, a guide and tips and tricks. This is truly how I got from being divorced, experiencing anxiety every single day. I was in some really unhealthy patterns, and now I'm engaged to a really amazing man. So this is the same process that I followed, and so many of my clients have followed. Um, so yeah, I think I want to start. Beautiful. A few more comments here. So good to have you. So good. I want to start and just invite you to really set an intention for the next 75 minutes for this masterclass. You know, there's a reason that you're here today. There's a reason that something kind of pulled you in and you said yes to spending 75 minutes of your life attending this masterclass. And so maybe that intention is really, really clear to you right now, and maybe it's not. And what I've found in my own life and my own journey is the more intentional we can be about things, the more comes from it. So before we really dive in, just take a moment. Maybe you want to close down your eyes or just tune into your heart space and feel into what you hope to gain from this. Maybe that first moment you saw that we were doing this master class and there was something in you that said yes or pulled you forward. What was that pull? What was that impulse? What was that nudge? And from that place, just setting an intention. It might just be one word or something you want to receive, a part of you want to gain clarity about, maybe something going on in your relationship you want to be able to move through with peace. Setting an intention now. You're welcome to share it in the chat box. I'd love to hear it. And you're also welcome to keep it to yourself. Maybe you want to write it down. And just know that that intention will come to you. It might come to you in a different way than you're expecting, but you can remain open to it. And throughout the next hour or so we spend together, return to it, be curious about it, be open to it, how you might receive that intention. Okay, beautiful. So if we haven't met yet, I'm Malia. I am a trauma-informed relationship and dating mentor. And I've focused my work in supporting and guiding women through healing from the past pain and trauma that impacts our relationships, overcoming patterns that keep you stuck and unfulfilled, developing confidence and self-worth, and attracting a secure, emotionally available, passionate relationship, and also deepening and improving and knowing how to sustain a relationship with a lot of connection and a lot of love. And I do this through my mentorship program, Reading Relationship Academy. And I'm very passionate about this work. I got into this work because this was my journey. I lived this. And about 9 years ago, I went through a divorce, and it was very painful, and the relationship was really unhealthy. And so at the time, it seemed like the wisest option to protect myself, guard my heart, whatever I needed to do to not let that happen again. And so at the time, I did the best I could with the tools that I had: therapy, meditation, reading books, supportive friends and family. I was trying to make my way through, and I thought I was doing what I needed to do to be okay. And the truth is, to be honest with you, the next few years I was suppressing my pain. I was numbing my emotions. I didn't really have the tools or know how to actually move through this. And so because I didn't heal the root of this pain or look at my patterns or really take that self-responsibility to see like what is going on here, I found myself sabotaging any opportunity to experience a healthy relationship, really. And so I was just repeating these patterns. So for me, this looked like I would attract relationships that were these casual flings. I'd be super into someone for a few months while it's like hot and heavy and passionate. There's a lot of chemistry. And then I would get bored. And so I would move on. Really, I was pushing love away. Like when it got past the few month mark, it was too scary for me. And I couldn't trust anyone, after my past experience being hurt and going through that pain. I was not open to trusting anyone, and I was really bitter. I was angry. I would blame others. It's the city I'm in. It's the man's fault. Like blaming others. And in these relationships, I didn't really feel understood. I never really felt seen for who I was or appreciated for who I was. I experienced a lot of anxiety, overthinking. I mean, just like in the thought loops. Um, and I was really disconnected from myself. I was always on the go. I was like proving my worth, doing whatever I could to prove my worth. And so, deep down, I wanted to feel desired. I wanted a loving relationship. But on the surface level, I was like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I'm good by myself, right? So, this resulted in giving myself to men who didn't treat me right. And now, years later, today, a lot's changed for me. I'm engaged, like I said, to an amazing man who I feel so cared for in this relationship. But more than that, I'm connected to myself, to my body, to my radiance. I can trust myself. I'm able to trust my partner now because I trust myself and I trust my decisions. So, yeah, it took a lot of work to get here. Not gonna lie to you. This didn't just happen. Although I did have this mindset back then that, I'll just figure it out eventually, or the next relationship will be different, right? Didn't work like that. There was some really necessary work that I had to do within myself to be where I'm at now. And, because I experienced this, it was just so incredible when I realized, like, oh, like we don't have to stay stuck in that. There's actually a pathway through. And so since then, I've made it my life's work and my mission to support other women in this. So I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm so happy to share this process with you. Oh, thanks, Emily. And yeah, so in this workshop, of course, I'm going to show you the process. We're going to get into why patterns repeat in relationships. Um, and my biggest intention is to relieve some of the confusion and overwhelm and anxiety that can happen in dating and relationships when we're just kind of stuck in these patterns. Um, yeah, so, yeah. if you're in a place where you're ready to take self-responsibility. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. If you're here right now, you're in a place where you're ready to really see yourself and take the next steps to make some changes in your life. So, we're going to bring a lot to the surface today. We're going to start to bring a lot of awareness in because we can't really go anywhere or change anything if we aren't honest with what's going on currently. So, yeah, if you've been in a space where you've been overthinking things or feeling a lot of anxiety or just like almost hopeless of like what the fuck is going on, then you're in the right place. So, yeah, I want to just begin to paint the picture of how this all works. So, I'm going to tell you about one of my clients. Her name is Cordy. And when we started to work together, she came to me and she was just leaving an unhealthy relationship. And she had a pattern of ignoring the red flags. So she would move really fast in relationships and kind of just get like swept up in it and then start to lose herself in that. She wasn't really like using this discernment of like, is this right for me? Is this really what I want? Yeah, like if someone was into her, she would just kind of get swept up in it and it wouldn't end up in a healthy dynamic. She also didn't know how to set boundaries or really communicate what she needed or what she desired. So we started to work together and discovered, deep down, she really didn't feel worthy or deserving to communicate those things or to have a healthy relationship. And this really started her. She had a kind of cycle in her family of toxic relationships as well, and that patterns are inherited. So this was very deeply rooted for her. And she also carried a lot of shame around, she was divorced, and so carrying shame around that she went through that and that others might judge her for that. So in our work together, again, we uncovered some beliefs, around the beliefs where love is meant to be hard. That love meant she would have to give up who she really is, and that men just wanted to control her. So those were the beliefs that were driving the experience that she was having. And so through the process that we went through together, that I'm about to lead you through, she was able to have such an empowering experience in her dating experience for the next few months. She was attracting men who really respected her. She was, expressing herself, and they were receiving it. Like she was taking on these like incredible dates, and now she's engaged and she's so fulfilled. It's just so beautiful to see her and her partner. And yeah, so this is the process, the same process that Cordy went through that we're about to go through now. So I hope you can start to kind of feel into what's possible here and also start to feel that you're not alone in this. This is something we all struggle with. And like I said, patterns are inherited. You didn't choose them. So they come from our family, from culture, from our lived experiences. And it is our responsibility as empowered women to shift the pattern if it's not serving us. But the number one thing I want to kind of anchor in here is the compassion towards yourself. That's the thing that is going to support you through this process, because looking at your patterns and taking self-responsibility in that way, it can be hard to look at. It really can. So the process we're going through now, if you can remove the self-judgment, it's just not helpful in this space, and begin to bring in self-compassion and curiosity. If we can stay curious, we're less judgmental and harsh with ourselves, and we're more open to seeing how things really are. So let me just check the comments, see what's happening down here. Okay, cool. So this is the first step. It's about cultivating awareness, right? So we need to be able to see what our patterns are. We can't go anywhere if we don't know where we're starting, right? So we need to be able to gain clarity around, okay, these are the things that I'm really wanting to shift. So we're going to go through a process now. It's called, I've named it the relationship inventory. And so there's a much deeper version of this in the program I run, Radiant Relationship Academy. And I've developed this, I've developed a condensed version we're going to do today. So I'm going to give you just what you need to get the ball rolling. So you need a pen and paper. And on your piece of paper, I would love for you to write down the names of 2 to 3 past partners. 2 to 3. If you currently have a partner, you can include them. That could be like your first one, and then you can do like 2 to 3 other ones. And then if you're single right now, just 2 to 3 past partners. And just doing that can already start to bring some things up. So that's why I say, like, let's stay in this energy of self-compassion and curiosity to just see like what we're carrying and what we want to let go of. So on the piece of paper, you're going to write down those names. So you want to write it like at the top, the middle, and the bottom, like on one side of the page. Let's say like the left side, top, middle, bottom. And we're going to start to do some reflecting. So this is really meant, I'm going to give you some prompts to write out, but this is really meant to be like just an idea dump, like stream of consciousness, just like getting things out. I find it's best if you just do like bullet points. So next to each name, bullet point, and then I'll give you the prompts in just a minute. Doesn't have to be super organized. We're going to start to organize this in a second. So you can do one name at a time, one past partner at a time. Or as I say the prompts, you might want to like, this comes out and this comes out and this comes out. Again, it doesn't have to be a super organized process. It's just like getting it all out on paper. So for each of these past relationships, side note, this can be, if you're anything like I have been in the past, you might have had some kind of like situationships or like casual flings that you were dating for a while, but maybe it wasn't a like real relationship. That counts as well. That is totally relevant as well. So you can include that or not. Okay, so we want to start reflecting on and just start writing as I say the prompts. What was this relationship like? What was it like? What drew you to this person? What did you struggle with in this relationship? What did you struggle with in this relationship? What did you enjoy about the relationship? Can you recall any situations that triggered you or you didn't appreciate within the relationship? Also reflecting on how you responded to those triggers or how you responded to those situations you didn't like, you didn't appreciate, felt uncomfortable for you. How did your partner interact in conflict? And how did you interact in conflict? Reflect on what the communication was like. How were you in communication? How did you show up? Did you completely reveal your entire heart, or did you withhold and shut down? Did you freeze up? Did you get frustrated because your partner wasn't communicating? What was the communication like? And then reflect on why or how the relationship ended. I'm going to read through the prompts just one more time. So hopefully you can get some points next to each name written on your piece of paper. What was the relationship like? What drew you to this person? What did you struggle with in this relationship? What did you enjoy about the relationship? Situations that triggered you or you didn't appreciate, also how you responded to those triggers or those experiences. Reflecting on conflict. How did you interact in conflict and how did your partner interact in conflict? And communication. What was your communication like? What was your partner's communication like? And why did it end? Why did the relationship end? Why and how? How was the ending? What was that like? So you should have, a good amount of kind of bullet points on this paper now. We're going to flip the page and write the names, just two names this time, of your mother or your mother figure as you were growing up. Um, if you didn't have, a mother, what was the closest mother figure, feminine figure in your life? And then father figure closest to a father figure in your life. So there are two names. And same kind of process here with the bullet points. We're going to just reflect on how your parents or mother and father figures interacted in relationships. So if they were in a relationship or if they weren't in a relationship and they had, maybe you had a stepfather or they had other relationships or they were dating. How did they interact in relationships? What was their conflict styles like, their communication? What did you observe from them? You can almost like take the stance as if you were your 8-year-old self and you're watching your parents or you're watching your mother. What did you notice about them? The way that they interacted in love, relationships, intimacy, dating. Maybe even there was things that your mother said to you, like all men do this, or things that your father said to you, like your mother is too emotional. Just writing down in bullet points anything you remember, or still from current day, present day, what you observe from them. Is one of them controlling? Is one of them submissive? Maybe like a really kind of like jumping from partner to partner to partner. Um, anything that you observe from the way they behave, the way they interact in relationships. Just a few more moments here. Remembering that just this process alone can start to bring up some emotions or some uncomfortable feelings. Remembering to bring in some self-compassion, curiosity, removing any shame or judgment here. Okay, once you have a good amount of things out on your piece of paper, we're going to start to just reflect through both pieces of paper. And you want to start maybe circling or making a new list of anything that feels like it's repeating. Maybe there's certain patterns you notice in your parents or from one of your parents that you see in yourself. Or maybe from the past couple of relationships, you've been attracted to someone for the same reason, or it ended for the same reason, or there was the same kind of thing that triggered you. So now we're starting to identify anything that's repeating. So again, you can circle it, you can make a new list of anything that stands out and feels important to you. What we're going for here is to identify 1 to 3 repeating patterns. So the ones that stick out to you the most, that you resonate with the most, or probably feel like the most uncomfortable to look at. This might be pushing away love, like for me, or moving really quickly in relationships, like courting, trying to prove your worth, avoiding conflict and shutting down, feeling anxious and overthinking in the relationship. It could be, kind of like this finger pointing or blaming in conflict. Not sharing how you were feeling, just expecting your partner to know. So, it could be things that happened in the relationship, or it could be like in the dating process, who you were going for. Once you start to identify some of them, I'd love for you to put them in the chat box. If you have any questions about this point of the process, also put that in the chat box. It's interesting, because a pattern can look differently, but it's the same kind of pattern repeating, right? So the way that I pushed away love in my past was different every single time. Like the thing that I actually did was different. I would sabotage it by like leading someone on and then like ghosting them. At one time, I literally moved out of the country when a relationship got too serious. Like the way in which I would do it looked differently, but what I was doing when I can really like tune into it was pushing away love because I didn't feel I could trust anyone. Awesome. Yeah. Not trusting others, shutting down in conflict to keep the peace. Yes, this is a big one. Feeling anxious. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Dishonesty, anger, avoidance, cheating, manipulation. Yeah. I resonate with a lot of those. My parents were both very emotionally unavailable, and we never talked about emotions and no displays of affection. I chase partners that tend to present the same way as my parents. Excellent. Excellent self-awareness. Avoiding authenticity and vulnerability. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, ladies, for sharing and for being vulnerable. This is super powerful. Beautiful. Okay, so next part of the process, if anyone else wants to share, please do. Next part of the process is there is a belief that is motivating your pattern, which is why the pattern continues to repeat. So now we want to identify what's the core belief motivating my patterns. And if we can identify that and start to untangle some of that, this is when true change and transformation can happen. Emily says, shutting down and self-sabotage. Yes, yes. So on your piece of paper, so you should have, like your top 1 to 3 patterns. And now we want to start to kind of, you can put like an arrow and write out what might that belief be that's motivating the pattern. A healthy relationship will never happen for me, might be the belief. Or I'm not good enough because of my past. Love equals getting hurt. Um, uh, Being vulnerable isn't safe. When I'm vulnerable, it's used against me. Think of something else. I will be rejected. I'm going to be rejected. How I feel doesn't matter. Right? And so again, we really have to kind of tune into ourselves, because this stuff is not on the surface. This is not how things appear to be. But if we really tune in, we can sense, oh, like there's this part of me. Maybe me and my like full consciousness doesn't, logically believe this, but there's a part of me that's holding on to this belief. And, again, these things are passed down from our family or culture or lived experiences. It could be, I'm not worthy of being chosen. And a lot of times, our beliefs come from our lived experience, right? I think it was, let me scroll down. Nicole shared, my parents were both very emotionally unavailable. We never talked about emotions, no displays of affection. So that experience can create a belief that says it's not safe to feel emotions, right? I can't really know what the belief is for you, but it could be something along those lines, which then drives the pattern. So see if you can start to identify that. See if you can start to identify what is that belief that is motivating this pattern. My partner, everyone's going to leave me. People always leave. When I show who I really am, people leave. I'm going to be abandoned. Yeah. As you start to identify it, I'd love, again, to see it in the chat box. Amy says, I choose men who are emotionally unavailable, which is a mirror of my parents' relationship. I become very emotional and angry when I feel unfulfilled. Yeah. Yeah. Sabrina, definitely a feeling of lack of self-worth. I'm currently with someone who is emotionally unavailable. Thought this was something I can deal with, but I find myself needing to connect more. Yeah, this is super common, to, kind of be like, I'm assuming there's probably some great things about this person, but especially as women, especially as the feminine, we have such a desire to connect emotionally. That's how we feel safe. We first feel safe to like really open into who we are when we have that emotional connection. Usually the true intimacy we desire is through the emotional connection, the vulnerability. Beautiful. So yeah, if you start to identify your belief, you can drop it in the chat box. This part's really, really important to start to really get to the root of like, what is driving this? Let me see. Okay, just reading through the chat box. Yeah. Let's give you another moment here. Awesome. Okay, great, ladies. So we want to start to transform, obviously, this belief, there's some beliefs coming through. Okay, Elena, I hope I'm saying your name right. I won't find someone who chooses me first, so I have to prove myself to get and keep love. Oh, this is like, yeah, super powerful. Yeah. yeah, so start to imagine, if this belief is running in the background, what your lived experience will be. What we believe we see in our reality. What we believe, we move towards what's familiar to us. So, yeah, really great job identifying that. Nicole says, I definitely know that being the ugly kid in high school made me feel I was never going to get the partner that I was attracted to. And now that I'm recognized as physically beautiful and attractive, I'm seen as only a pretty person with no personality. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I can't trust myself. Love is fucked up. My true self is not lovable. Yeah, these are so powerful, ladies. Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful. Yeah, remembering to just hold yourself in compassion as you're identifying this. So, you know, this part of you that believes this, most of you have kind of like trailed it back to in childhood or my parents. We pick this up from years and years and years ago, and it stays with us because it becomes kind of like stuck in our body, stuck in our system. And so, in order to change this in a sustainable way, in a way that's a lot deeper than just writing out your new belief or saying it to yourself over and over and over again, we want to feel it in the body. And again, we do a full process of this in Radiant Relationship Academy, and we're going to do a taste today. So, we're going to go inward. We're going to start to feel this in the body. So if you're driving or if you're at work, participate as much as you can, and remember, super important to come back to this when you have full presence, because this is like the meat. This is like the part where things start to change. So if you're joining me now, let's close down the eyes. And as you close down the eyes, just let that attention, that awareness, your presence start to come inward. Starting to turn your attention inwards. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, soften the jaw, release. We're first going to really feel in the body what it feels like to believe this current belief. So whatever you've identified, I can't trust myself, love is fucked up, my true self is not lovable. When I show up in my truth, I am abandoned. When I deeply desire and ask for more connection, I'm shut down or ignored. Whatever your belief is, feel that now in your body. You might say it out loud, or you might just sense where it is in your body. And I invite you to just feel what it's like to live in that belief. Maybe your body starts to feel a little collapsed, or there's an uncomfortable feeling in the pit of your stomach. Maybe your heart feels frozen or guarded. A hopelessness, this like crunchy, sticky, twisted feeling in your chest. A heaviness in your throat. And really feeling how it feels in your body, in your experience, to live in this belief. Just take a breath there, remembering no judgment here. We're just exploring, just getting a little bit more information here. And on your next exhale, I want you to just let that go. Returning to your natural stance in your body. Maybe the spine straightens a little bit, or you even kind of shrug the shoulders to shake that out, just letting that go fully. And from here, I want you to start to imagine and feel into what it is you truly desire to experience in a relationship. How do you want to be treated? How do you want to be spoken to? How do you want to feel? What do you want to experience? What is your truest desires in a relationship? Maybe it's consistency, having really deep, juicy, emotional conversations, feeling completely safe, feeling completely accepted, having stability, emotional safety, just off the charts passion, feeling so appreciated, whatever it is you desire to experience in a relationship. Being as truthful with yourself as you can, your truest desire. Maybe you've never even imagined, maybe you've never allowed yourself to imagine this is possible. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Soften the jaw, exhale through the mouth. What would you need to believe to let yourself have that? What would you need to believe to let yourself have that? Love is safe. I'm so worthy just as I am to be fully chosen. I trust myself. I trust that I can open my heart and I will be received. Men want to treat me with respect. There are so many men out there who are emotionally safe, emotionally available, and can't wait to fully commit. Whatever it is for you, what would you need to believe to let yourself have your truest desires in relationships? That is your new belief. That is what you get to live into. And I want you to start to feel how that feels in your body, to believe that. What else would be possible? Maybe your shoulders come down and your heart starts to expand. There might be this juicy, sparkly kind of energy coming through your body. Your belly might be relaxed. Inner thighs are soft and surrendered. Feet are firm in the ground. Notice how your body experiences itself in this belief. Let this belief come alive in your body. Feel it, truly feel it in your body, and notice how it is. Beautiful. You can start to blink your eyes back open, just slowly, softly blinking the eyes open. And write out your new desired belief. Whatever belief came through for you. What you need to believe to let yourself have that type of love, that type of relationship. What is that belief? Maybe there's a few that came through. That's great. Write it all down. And write out what felt different in the current belief. So that first belief that we identified. How did your body feel? What did you notice in your body? What was that experience like when you were fully embodying that old belief? And then write out what was your embodied experience in the new belief, in the desired belief. How did that feel in your body? Maybe it was the heart open, energy moving through the body. Trying to write out as much like descriptive, how it felt in your body, sensations for each belief. this is going to be your pathway there. This is going to be how you actually move into that new belief, to know how it feels in your body. So any of that felt sense distinctions between current belief / old belief and new belief, desired belief. I'd love to hear your new beliefs in the chat box if you'd like to share. Beautiful. Nicole has a breakthrough. Scroll to get to it. Just wanted to share a breakthrough I felt. I feel very confident when I'm single and connected. Sorry, the comments, like when there's a new comment, it scrolls up. And connected to myself, feeling I had to become smaller to not overshadow my partner, and therefore would constantly feel self-conscious in relationship. I desire a partner who is just as ambitious as me and is not scared of my empowerment. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it takes a really strong, secure, masculine, grounded man to be able to be in partnership with a really empowered, in her body woman. And, this is, again, what this work is about, is when we, like, the clarity you have here, you then can use your discernment to really embody like this or nothing less, and with the right support and tools, attract that in a really powerful way. Sarah's new belief: I am a beautiful person. Yes, you are. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, so moving forward from here, this is a practice, right? So what you've done so far is you've identified the patterns, the belief, and the new belief, right? And so much is possible from here, and we have to recognize this is a practice, right? Of choosing the new pattern and belief over and over and over, and embodying it and living it out, right? So you've identified a new pattern today, or a new belief today, and next comes creating a habit from that, and that takes practice, right? So we have to live into this new way of being. The way we do that is we train our body and our mind and our spirit to respond differently, to behave differently, rather than going for what's familiar. Likely you've been in this pattern in some way, or had this belief for a very long time. It probably came from childhood, or from years and years and years ago. And so we repeat patterns because they are familiar. There is some sort of safety or comfort in that. Our body will literally just respond in that way because we've been doing it for so long. And so to learn a new way of being, to truly come out of that pattern, it takes practice. Back to the comments. Amy says, when I stand fully in my truth, I am fully seen, heard, and loved. Yes. My need for connection and emotional intelligence is deeply desired by my partner. Ooh, that is so powerful, Amy. Yeah, incredible, incredible. So what I feel is really important to name here is that likely the patterns you've identified today, they are going to repeat. And that doesn't mean that you've failed. It doesn't mean that you are going backwards. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It means it requires practice to truly transform this and move out of this. It takes devotion. And, Yeah, just feeling where I want to go from here. The process is with awareness, which we've done today, comes choice, which is what you have to practice moving forward. And with choice comes power. So with awareness comes choice, and with choice comes power. And again, with the knowing, I just want to like plant the seed with you that the pattern's probably going to repeat. And when it does, the most supportive thing that you can do for yourself is to show yourself compassion. To be curious of like, here I am. Because now that you've identified it, you're a lot more likely to see yourself in the pattern and be like, whoa, I'm doing that thing. But I thought I identified it. Why am I still in it? And then the shame can kick in. And shame can be really, really harmful to this process because it locks down the nervous system. It closes us, it shuts us down, it kind of freezes us. And then we don't have the ability to have a choice, right? So self-compassion is the antidote to shame. And so when the pattern repeats, the number one thing I want you to do is say, it's okay. I love myself anyways. I'm choosing over and over and over again this new way of being. Because really, it really takes unlearning and relearning. And, you know, that's exactly what we do inside of Radiant Relationship Academy. For 3 months, you're held in a space a lot like this with other women here with you that are like totally in on this journey and being vulnerable. And you're given the tools and the support to really develop the capacity to make the choice, right? Because another thing, when you guys were sharing your current belief, like your past belief and the patterns, there is healing work that is necessary to truly integrate that, to truly be able to move past that. This is a big part that I don't like to skip over. We don't have the time today to do that. We do this inside of Radiant Relationship Academy, but the healing work around why that pattern was created or what's motivating, the pattern, the belief, is what is going to make this so sustainable for you to be able to love that part of you and tend to that part of you. So, let me plug in my computer. The more we develop awareness, it can be quite, like I said, it's hard to look at, once you start becoming more self-aware about this and you're like, oh, I can really change my experience in this. It can also feel very overwhelming. Like, it's important to discern the difference between I have all this work to do, I have all this trauma or all these patterns, I'm not good enough, I have to fix it, and shift that into healing from a place of love, a place of I love myself enough to choose me, to choose the love that I deserve. I choose that, right? So instead of, fixing yourself, it's about just becoming who you truly are because you love yourself that much. And that makes the practice of this a lot more enjoyable. So what does this look like how do we bring this into dating and relationships? Let's circle back to Cordy, who we started this masterclass with, and we saw what her patterns were and that she went through this process. So, Cordy really applied everything she learned in Radiant Relationship Academy, and she practiced it. Like, she really understood that this requires healing work and getting the support and practicing this. I'm just going to read you what she shared after her time in Radiant Relationship Academy so you can hear it straight from her. So she said, I started dating in a new way. It was very interesting experiencing setting boundaries, communicating my needs and my wants, expressing my feelings around safety and sexuality, and also saying no a lot, which was very new to me. And even though some of this was super uncomfortable at first, it got better and more natural every time I did it. Having always been really codependent, that was a major pattern that I was able to transform. Malia helped me to work through my feelings of unworthiness. I now have a new partner, and I have never felt more seen, heard, valued, safe, and empowered. I'm also supported and genuinely loved. The depth of love and connection and intimacy is something I've never imagined. Being able to have this kind of new and healthy love is the result of working with Malia to transform and heal old patterns and beliefs I held around relationships. Sitting with myself and allowing space and time to not try to put a band-aid over the wound. So powerful. And, let's just remember where she started. Ignoring the red flags, not feeling worthy, um, the beliefs that she was holding, men just want to control me, right? And now she feels worthy. She's now actually engaged to this incredible man, and they live an amazing life together. And I want to invite you into what might that feel like for you? What else might open up for you? What else is possible for you if you truly stepped into this new belief? If you had the tools and the support that you really needed to step into this belief and heal from that past pain that first created that old belief, what would be possible? And we looked at the example of Cordy, and she was single at the time, dating, now in a relationship, and this also works and is so important if you're in a relationship, right? This process is still the same, and it's a lot of women that come into Radiant Relationship Academy, they're in a space and they're not quite sure if their partner is right for them. They're feeling really disconnected or underappreciated from their partner. And one of my clients, Alyssa, who completed Radiant Relationship Academy, she took responsibility for herself and her patterns in her relationship. And when she came into the program, she felt really underappreciated by her partner. And now she's feeling so at peace with herself, first and foremost, and also understood by her partner, really connected again. And she is totally relaxed into her feminine energy and allowing her partner to take care of her, and really hold space and show up for her. So, even if you feel like you are settling or hopeless, or you're avoiding conflict, or that belief someone shared here, I think it was Amy. Let's see. So many comments. Yeah, when I ask and desire for more connection, I'm shut down or ignored. Whatever it is that you're holding, there is a way through. Even if you're in a relationship, it can improve so much. It can deepen so much. It's really about, first being able to trust yourself that you can settle into the relationship, or if it's not the right relationship for you, right? Imagine what can happen if you feel at peace with yourself and you know exactly what you want and how to ask for that. So yeah, the work we've done here today, we've brought incredible awareness around your patterns. We're beginning to shift that belief that is motivating it. And if you're really, really ready to continue to do this work for yourself, to receive the tools, the healing, the support that you really need to fully transform this, then I'd love to invite you into my mentorship program, Radiant Relationship Academy. We are opening enrollment again in 2 weeks. We're opening for early enrollment. So for the last 2.5 weeks in November, you can enroll early and have the option for an extended payment plan. So if finances is something that might stop you from doing the program, this is the perfect opportunity to enroll early and make sure you get the extended payment plan. So Radiant Relationship Academy, this is a 3-month mentorship program, and we support you in truly overcoming these patterns, right? Because we're in it for 3 months, it's a lot more than we can do in 75 minutes here today, right? So fully overcoming these patterns, healing from the past, really learning how to trust again, how to trust that you can open your heart, developing self-worth and confidence, dating to attract the one, someone who really is secure, emotionally available, can hold all of you, and also deepening or improving your current relationship. Really learning how to sustain a relationship to be fully connected and, yeah, like not just, uh, sometimes you feel like you're just friends or like roommates, right? So this is about developing really true connection. So the program, it includes 10 modules, and this is your step-by-step process to move through all of this. And it's really about embodied learning. So like we did earlier when we really felt that experience in our body and then we felt the new experience, that's a little bit of a taste of what the modules are. It's a lot deeper than writing out the affirmations and doing the meditation. My work is about really doing this healing work on a really deep level so that we can truly embody who we want to become, who we truly are, right? And we also have weekly group coaching calls. So every week during the 3 months, we have a group coaching call where you get one-on-one coaching and support from me. We have a private community space with the other women inside. And in that community space, we do a weekly one-on-one check-in. So if you can't make the call, you can do the check-in, and I'll give you personalized support. And there's a support sister group, so you can be in a smaller, more intimate group within the program. And there's also an add-on option for a deep dive experience. So you can add on 3 one-on-one sessions with me to be had during the program. There's some bonuses as well. My fiance Jesse comes on for a guest workshop. He gives the masculine perspective of dating and relationships. And yeah, so this program is, like I said, it's a lot different than any other dating program I've ever seen, put out, and that's because the way my work is focused, the way this program is focused, is it's so much deeper than like the template for communication or the guide for this or the tip for this. You do get that in the program, absolutely. But my biggest intention is that you come to a space of truly trusting yourself, trusting your desire, trusting your discernment, so that you can have all that you really want, right? So this is, like I said, it works for you if you're single and also if you're in a relationship. So if you're single and you experience attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable, or they're insecure, or they're not ready for commitment, you're tired of these games and men who just want the casual flings, or they don't initiate, and you experience anxiety or not feeling good enough or overthinking, doubting yourself. You also might ignore the red flags, and just kind of see someone's potential. Maybe you've had painful experiences in the past that have left you with trust issues and you want to heal, right? And maybe you're in a space where you're not quite ready for another relationship, but you want to heal from the past and overcome these patterns and know that when you are ready, you know exactly how to attract the person you really want. And also if you're in a relationship and you experience challenge with communicating, maybe you shut down or you avoid the conflict or the opportunity to communicate because you want to keep the peace. You don't really know how to express your needs or your desires in a way that it's actually received. You might feel like you put in a lot more than your partner does, or you lose yourself in the relationship, becoming codependent, and never really still feeling good enough, or like your partner's going to leave, you'll be abandoned. You might have these conversations or these kind of same arguments on repeat, and resentment just builds and builds and builds. And you might be in a relationship where, like I said earlier, there's a lot of love but little passion, that dynamic where it feels kind of like a friendship or you're just roommates. So I'd love to hear from you if any of this is resonating, ladies. If you see yourself in any of these examples, I'd love to hear in the chat box what's resonating with you. You know, and who this is not for, I think this is important to speak on because this isn't for everyone. This isn't, like Cordy said in her testimonial earlier, it's not for the woman looking for a quick fix, you know, to put just a band-aid over the wound. This is not what that is, or that this is not what that is. And you know, it's not for the woman who isn't ready to take responsibility for herself, to do the work necessary to really receive this type of relationship that is all in, you know, so safe and so secure. Also not for the woman who isn't ready to invest time and energy and a lot of love and finances into herself. So yeah, the true opportunity here is the inner transformation, right? Imagine feeling worthy, truly worthy of the type of love Cordy's now experiencing, right? Imagine really, really trusting yourself so you can let go of the overthinking and the anxiety. And you know exactly how you want to show up. Imagine having the discernment to know, yes, this is for me, or no, this is not for me. Yeah, and imagine the self-worth, imagine the radiance when you're no longer trying to fill a void with a love, that you're your own best lover. You're so secure in yourself and who you are. You know what you deserve. Beautiful. Amy says, I recognize that I've become codependent in my current relationship. We trigger each other when trying to communicate, ending most of the time in arguments. And there is lots of love, but almost no passion. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Amy. Yeah, and you know, what's so important is these experiences, you know, from where I'm sitting right now, I can't tell you that, you know, you're going to be with this person forever, right? But I can tell you there's some really important things that we could work on together or shift internally, or like tools we could bring into the relationship that could make such a big difference. You know, I see this so often in relationships. We kind of get stuck in our ways because we don't know another way. You know, you have your way of navigating conflict and your partner does too. You have your way of, like, you know, your triggers or your communication or like the way you show love, and your partner does too. And so if we're able to step out of that bubble just a little bit and gain a new perspective and some tools that truly work magic. And really a lot of it is like the internal shift that can happen when you start to understand how men actually interact in love and how we can be as women, as the feminine, more so in our power in relationships. So yeah, you know, you deserve all the passion. We always do. We all do. You know, we deserve the passion and the safety. It's a belief that says we can only have one. We can only have like the really passionate chemistry, or we can only have this really secure relationship. Like, we can have it all. We just need to be shown the way, you know. And it took me a really long time to find the way. 9 years ago when I got divorced, did a lot of work and spent a lot of money and tried a lot of things. And so when I developed this program, Radiant Relationship Academy, it was my way of putting the steps that I had to go through all in one place, and then adding the support, you know, one of the community, and then also, you know, me as the mentor and the coach to guide you through. So we are gonna start booking discovery calls for Radiant Relationship Academy next week if you're on the wait list. So you want to be on the wait list to be able to jump in on the early enrollment, which includes the extended payment plan. So make sure you're on the wait list. You can get on the wait list. Amanda dropped the landing page for Radiant Relationship Academy in the comments. Go there. There's tons of information about the program, what's included, other women's experience in the program. You can read through it if you'd like. Get on the wait list and you'll be notified when we open for enrollment calls. And the discovery call is really an opportunity for you and I to sit down and understand if this is the right program for you, if this is the right time for you. So yeah, there's no pressure on the discovery call. This is really not what this is about. It's not to use some strategy to like get you inside. I, from my heart, want what's best for you. And I have seen so many women, almost 100 women, go through this program, Radiant Relationship Academy, and just experience so much love for themselves, so much self-worth and confidence, and incredible, incredible relationships, whether they've attracted it or they've improved the relationship. And that, I want more of that. I just think it's what we all deserve. So you see, I think there's a new comment. Oh. Katie says, this program changed my life. If you were wondering if you should do it, do it. Oh, so good to hear from you, Katie. Thanks for being here. Yeah, Katie was another amazing example for all of us. What happens when you really look at your patterns, when you really kind of move through the hard things and do it with a lot of self-compassion. And Katie is now in a really beautiful, loving, safe, secure, supportive relationship. So it's so good to see that, Katie. So like I said, the biggest foundation of Radiant Relationship Academy is the discernment and the self-trust, learning how to trust yourself, learning how to trust your impulses, the sensations of your body. And so you have an opportunity to do that right now, to feel in your body, what do you notice as you're being invited into this next step, this part of your evolution, as you're being invited to step into what is possible in a relationship, in your relationship to yourself. Through the work I've done for myself, I know that something's right for me when I feel a little bit of a tightness in my chest, and there's a bit of pull inwards, there's a bubbling up inside of me, an impulse to look a little closer, and it doesn't always make sense. Normally I would push that down because I've been taught in life, through relationships, through our culture, to not listen to those impulses, right? Is now the right time? Do I have the money? Like, to look at all the logical things and to not first feel what's happening in my body. And so I just want to invite you now, the way you experience it in your body, it might feel differently than the way I experience it. But notice in yourself now what's happening in your body. And that might mean something inside of you is ready for this. That might mean something inside of you is calling for this, right? When I, trust that, I've learned that that's my soul, that's my intuition calling me forward into my evolution. And I've learned that I can trust that. So if you're experiencing something like that today, maybe it's different for you, but this could be a practice in seeing what happens when you trust yourself. Okay, we are complete. Again, Amanda put the link here in the comments for Radiant Relationship Academy. You can see all the modules, the topics of all the modules. There's a frequently asked question section, anything that you might be wondering about. You can also comment here. You can send me a message. I'm happy to talk with you. The next round, this round of RRA that's going to be starting, is going to start January 2023. So this coming January. So again, if you would like the extended payment plan, make sure you enroll and book your discovery call by the end of November. So I hope this masterclass was helpful. I hope this gave you a taste of what is possible. I love your new beliefs. I want to keep hearing them. And let me know, what other questions come up from this. I'll be here in the Facebook group. I mean, I'm always here in the Facebook group, but for the next few days, I'll be here kind of checking in, seeing what questions. Again, you can put it in the comments. You can send me a message privately. And let's really kind of like see how you can implement this, right? So you have your notes from your journal that we moved through today. The recording is here. So remember, like, you have, with awareness comes choice. With choice comes power. You are so powerful, so powerful. So remember, it's your choice, right? And remember, the number one tool that you need is the self-compassion. Yeah, thank you so much, ladies, for being here. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for your vulnerability. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Let me know if you have any questions about RRA or what's next for you. If this program isn't right for you, but you still have questions or you're curious about how you can apply this, please reach out. I'd love to chat. All right. Beautiful. Thanks so much for joining. Good night, everyone.